What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm here to do a review of Tyler Perry's Sistas. This is season 2, and this is the season finale. I actually thought that I already released this video, but I did not. And let me go ahead and redo this. So, let's go ahead and talk about the show. So, we actually start off right where we left off, and that was with the encounter of Karen and Fatima. Okay, cool. So here's my whole thing about this encounter. Why is Karen over here acting so big and bad over Zac? Like, literally, we see them have this conversation about how, did you mention a guy named Zac? And she's like, yeah, Zac is my ex or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out, why is Karen trying to, show like she has some type of position or something. Like, she's literally going at Fatima like, well, he was my ex. And it's like, okay. A lot of people have exes and people date other people's exes. Chill out. And the fact that she was like, oh, so y'all date? I'm just like, where's all this attitude coming from? It's bad enough on the couch. On the previous episode, you were talking about how you want Zac back and how you love him and you want to make it work. And I'm like, make what work? Because your relationship was terrible to begin with. Because you don't even like this man. You think that he's just a terrible person. He cheats on you, all this stuff. Y'all are toxic. But you gonna go ahead and throw away what you were building with Aaron so that you can try to get back with Zac? Really, Karen? Okay, girl. Also, before I get back to the Fatima and Zac and Karen's debacle that's happening in the grocery store, it really annoys me that Tyler writes for other characters to tell someone to be quiet, shush, all those type of things, because it was so annoying watching Andy as well as Sabrina. I think even at one point Karen be like, Danny, be quiet. Danny, shush. Danny, don't say that. Danny, I was like, first of all, how about this? Y'all go walk away. Just walk away to another aisle. Like, it's so annoying. It's just like, why does Tyler feel like that is comedic relief? It's really not. It's actually putting pauses in the middle of the script where you should actually be writing about the main character's emotions instead of you over here trying to talk about Danny being quiet. Like, no, this conversation should have been about Fatima and Karen, not the sideline of Danny and Sabrina and Andy. Nobody want to hear from them. Now, back to this whole Karen and Fatima situation. Why is it that Karen, she wanted to know what Zac had to say about her and all this stuff? And I'm just like, girl, you just slept with this dude and you just found out that he's dating this girl. You have no remorse at all. Therefore, you have no respect. Because the fact that she over here acting like Billy Badass over Zac, when she just completely threw away what she had going on with Aaron. But now, because you're in front of Fatima's face, you gonna try to act like you and Zac were a thing and she was coming in on something? Really? Fatima is not in the wrong here. The only person who's in the wrong is Zac and Karen. And not even so much Karen as far as them hooking up with each other, but Karen is in the wrong as to how she is coming at Fatima. And honestly, the only time I was really on Zac's side was when he was like, we don't owe them nothing. Just within this scene. When he's like, we don't owe them nothing, telling Fatima that, because he's not lying. Like, they don't owe them nothing. Regardless of Fatima working for Andy, her trying to be in this little sister circle they got going, you don't owe them heifers nothing. If anything, what's her name? Karen, she owes you an apology. That's what needs to happen. And then we have Fatima out here begging and pleading and apologizing to Karen. And I'm like, you just heard that he slept with her. And you're apologizing? Even though you dating this man? Really? That's ass backwards. I don't know where Tyler was going with his writing, but that wasn't it. Also, the fact that when Danny was saying, oh, you basically should tell her what time you and Zac were hooking up. And Karen, again, acting like Billy Badass, is over here like, oh, I ain't got to tell you nothing, or it's none of your business, or something like that. And I'm like, girl, if I was Fatima, I would mollywop you just because you keep talking out your side of your neck. Also, in this scene, because this was a very long scene, I don't know why this grocery store scene was as long as it was, but it was very long. The fact that Zac, he did not want to have this conversation in the middle of the supermarket, I kind of agree. This is not the type of conversation that you have with somebody in the middle of a supermarket, as well as you got the audience of 3 over there, the 3 musketeers. That is not the type of conversation or just situation you want to be in the middle of a grocery store. At the end of that scene, though, when Fatima and Zac finally walk away, Karen was like, Andy, I'm going to ask you this one time. And I'm just like, girl, clearly nobody knew who you were. Relax. The same way y'all didn't know who Fatima is. Why is it the fact that she doesn't know who you are, you're so offended? But she never knew, like, y'all didn't know who she was, and you never thought anything of it. Oh, wait, actually, let's go ahead and rewind real quick, because I don't know what episode that was, but I definitely remember, what's her name, Danny, telling Karen about the fact that Zac has a new woman. This new woman, she has him going. This new woman, she does all these things for Zac. Throwing it in Karen's face. So, at the end of the day, Karen, you are still loud and wrong because you knew that he had somebody. Regardless of the entire situation, y'all hooking up randomly, however you want to put that, you knew that he had somebody. And you didn't care. The same way you have somebody and you didn't care because you completely dropped Aaron. And then you have Andy over here. She's over explaining like, oh my God, Karen, I didn't know. I promise I didn't know. I'm like, what you shaking in your boots for? I mean, she acting like Karen about to bust a cap in her ass. Okay, so let me get off of that. But we get the next scene, which is Zac and Fatima in the car, right? So, she's just basically telling him how she feels about this entire situation. And here's the thing, though, because she says, well, you could have told me. And I'm like, listen, I don't know how many hours are in a Tyler Perry day, but if they were hooking up, okay, here's the thing. When Zac came into the salon, it was daytime, right? Okay, cool. So, it was daytime. Then, by the time Aaron came in, it was dark outside, so it was nighttime. Okay, I have no idea at what time she pulled up on Zac to give him the money. Because, he's been working so hard. She gave him the money. And then, they ended up going to the grocery store and going grocery shopping. Girl, what time was he supposed to tell you? Right after he got up out of Karen? Like, I just want to know what is the timeline here? Because technically I just broke it down and we're still in the same day. Like, she made it seem like, oh, well, you could have told me, like, as if this happened a week ago. No, this just happened like a smooth 3 hours ago. And neither one of them have taken a shower with their nasty selves. So at this point in their conversation, Fatima is just talking about how she wants him out of her place because she basically only wants to be with a man who thinks about her, not other women, because she feels like he still wants Karen. And he's like, I don't have feelings for her like that no more. That's my ex, whatever. And here's my thing, though. Because with her whole thing talking about how, I want to be with somebody who keeps me at the front of their mind and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. He was keeping you at the front of his mind, but at the same time, you guys technically were not together. Y'all never solidified your relationship. And just admit, like, I feel some type of way. And I feel like she could have made this work, honestly, because, like I said, they weren't together. It is fortunate that she happens to know who his ex was. But technically, just playing devil's advocate real quick, he didn't do anything wrong. At this point, Fatima wants Zac to move out. She wants him to leave. And I'm like, well, girl, first of all, you asked him to move in a little too quick for me. But, I do agree that Zac needs his own place. He needs to learn how to stand up on his own and not always lean on women. So I'm like, okay, great. Let's go ahead. Let Zac get his own spot. I want to see him grow as a person. That would be great to see on the show. But we already know when Zac gets thrown out of one place, what does he do? He runs to Danny's house. But before I get to talking about Danny, let's go talk about this dumb scene with Calvin and Maurice. They could have cut this whole scene out, okay? So, we have Maurice and Calvin talking. I guess Calvin was scrolling on Sabrina's social media or whatever. And Maurice is like, oh, why are you on her social media? And Calvin's like, why she don't want me? Why she don't want to date nobody like me? It's like, we've had this goddamn conversation so many times at this point. I'm over it. I don't need to wonder why Calvin and Sabrina are not together. She don't like you. Period. Point blank. That's it. That's all. Like, this has been stretched out for 2 seasons. I don't need to see Calvin anymore. Nothing against the character. Nothing against the man, but if she just ain't the girl for you, well, you're not the girl, you're not the man for her, why are we wasting our time? In the real world, once you be done with somebody, you ain't got to see that person ever again. Calvin, I don't need to see you again. And the fact that Maurice is out here telling you, oh, you got to do something big. You got to, show her and all this stuff. I'm like, he got to show her what? She still don't want you. You can buy that girl the world. You're not the type of guy that she wants. Let it go. So now he got the idea in his head that he gonna go pull up on Sabrina. Like, sir, I don't even understand why you so hung up on her. Because wasn't you just out with some other chick all night? When Maurice thought that he was in there with some dude, he was out with some girl all night that night. Now, I don't know what else is open at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, but dude, clearly this woman felt comfortable enough to either let you crash at her place and sleep on the couch, or I'm pretty sure you hooked up with this random girl. Or at least she's random to us. So what are we really doing with this conversation here? So now we get this car ride scene with all the ladies in the car. And I'm telling y'all, Karen is so dramatic. Talking about, oh, I should have seen this coming. And he never even mentioned my name. And I'm like, girl, that's what you concerned about? The fact that your ex-dude never mentioned your name to his new chick? Girl, you got bigger problems than that. Like, seriously. I don't even understand why you're so hurt about that. It's not his fault that because y'all had history, he didn't want to bring you into his new relationship. The difference between her and Aaron and Zac and Fatima are the fact that him and, Zac and Aaron, they have met each other. They have seen each other. They've been around each other at this point, trying to save her and all that stuff that was happening with his crazy ex-wife's family. They've seen each other. They've met. You've technically met Fatima, but it was not the same way that the two guys met. Like, you met her through Andy just as a cool chick. Not as, oh, this is who Zac is seeing. Girl, why are you so hurt? Like, I don't even understand why Karen is so... why is she feeling some type of way? Because he never said her name to Fatima. Like, girl, get over it. Also, why is Danny the only one who's spitting facts this whole time? And next thing you know, what they want to do, kick her out the car. I'm like, all right, here we go. Because whenever Danny starts to tell the truth, we got to make sure that she has to be quiet. She has to, hush up. We gonna kick her out the car. So annoying. All right, y'all. So this is another thing that bothered me about this episode, because this was, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get to it. Tyler Perry's timing, I don't know what time he thought it was, but this scene made no sense to me. So Danny comes into her place, right? Her man is sitting on the couch. Oh, but who's at her house? Of course, we already know it's going to be Zac, right? But I'm like, how many hours are in the day? Because if y'all were all just at the damn grocery store, right? Zac was just in the car with Fatima. And if Fatima and Zac were just in the car, and then she kicked him out, did he already have time to go to Danny's house and eat up all their food? Keep in mind, Danny was just in the car with Andy and them, and they were driving back from the same damn grocery store. How? Somebody please tell me how that made sense. But anyways, she gets home. She sees Zac. She's like, oh no, he gotta go. She tried to kick him out or whatever. Zac is like, well, Preston's my friend and he the one who let me in. And eventually, Zac ends up leaving. So then this kind of causes some type of little problem with Preston and Danny. And I don't even understand why they're on the outs anymore. Because, again, the days have been stretched so long. And the things that have happened with Danny, I thought they were resolved with Preston. But clearly I'm wrong. And now there's an issue. Like, Preston was going on about how, he's trying to help her or whatever. And she's basically telling him she don't need no help. I'm just like, what is this conversation? And where did it come from? Because I understand she has some issues with, like, his family and how they're racist and all that stuff. But I don't even know where this conversation is coming from between these two. Like, damn, can at least, these two be happy? Because she was just sitting at Andy's house, and when they were going around talking about their man problems, she's like, oh, me and Preston, we're good. So how did we go from me and Preston, we're good, to, oh, now I have to have an issue with Preston? Like, I hate that Tyler writes that when one girl has an issue with her man, all of them got to find the issue. Like, come on now. Everybody's storyline ain't got to be the same. All right, so now we have Sabrina. She didn't even call yet. She's scrolling through her phone talking about oh my God, Calvin, you haven't texted or called me yet? I'm like, girl, why are you waiting on him to do anything? You don't like this man. Stop wasting his goddamn time and stop wasting hours. So, you have her now reaching out to Jacoby, calling him, and he's like, okay, well, I'm about to pull up on you. And, of course, she's like, no, I don't want you to come over yet. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh, here she go with this shit. So he's like, nah, I'm going to pull up on you or whatever, and you already know what this is. And she's like, what is this? I'm like, girl, somebody get Sabrina off my damn screen because I hate that she has this, it's like a fake innocent act that she puts on. And I'm like, girl, you are not this girl. Like, come on now. Stop it. So, after that, we get a phone call between Sabrina and Danny. And Danny basically has to tell her, like, girl, you out here calling this man during booty call hours? What you think this is? There's that. Then, they talk about how, Danny and Preston, they just got into it. And then they pretty much end this conversation talking about how Sabrina needs to go ahead and go shave because clearly something is going to go down between her and Jacoby. So after that scene, we get Andy. She is on the phone with Karen. And Karen is talking about how she wants to call Aaron. And I'm like, girl, let that man breathe. Honestly, what you need to do is be focusing on yourself. But while she tells Andy that, Andy is like, well, do you want to call him or do you want to call Zac? So now she's like, well, should I call Zac? No, wait, he's actually with somebody. I'm like, yeah. Why is it not clicking in your brain, Karen, that he is with somebody? You already knew this. So let's stop acting like you didn't know. And also, let's stop acting like you really want to be with Zac. You don't. Like, at some point, I just want Karen to, like, take a step back and take a breather. Like, girl, you just did all of this. Like, all of this is a bunch of mess. Get your own mind right. Don't worry about Aaron and Zac right now. Then we have Andy's other phone ringing. I said, who still has a house line? Considering that Andy is like, what, in her 30s? Why would she have a house line? Please, somebody let me know. So, the person who's on the phone is clearly somebody who is at, not Danny, Andy's building. And they're basically telling her that Gary is there at the apartment and that she want to let him up. She's like, okay, that's weird because he has a key, right? All right, cool. So, she gets off the phone with them. And Karen is like, oh, Gary's coming over? And she's like, yeah. And then Karen's reply is, oh, I ain't gonna say nothing. Girl, what do you mean? Like, we weren't expecting you to. At this point, y'all all done congratulated Andy practically. What would you even say? Considering you just said, oh, I can't say anything because I went back to Zac. So, they get off the phone. And Gary finally comes up, and he's like, it's kind of weird because my keys are missing. But I think maybe the housekeeper may have misplaced them because, as we know, he stayed at a hotel. And Andy gets the bright idea of, how about you move in here? And I'm like, girl, didn't he just shit on your apartment not too long ago? Talking about you and your little apartment? Isn't your little apartment a little too shabby for him? So Gary ends up agreeing to move in, and he's like, okay, but what would your girls say? And she's like, oh, my girls, they love me or whatever. And I'm like, why are you even concerned about what them heifers think? Because Gary, if you knew the drama that they was in, you probably wouldn't even care about their opinions. And also, Andy is going to do whatever she wants to do, so her friends have no say. So now he's wondering, does her friends know everything about what has happened between them? And of course they do. So then he asks her, like, oh, can you not tell your friends everything? Now, I will say that in relationships, sometimes it is good to not tell your friends every detail. Just because sometimes when we tell someone so many negative things and we don't tell them all the positive things about the relationship, they start to have judgment on that person. Now, in this case, though, I think all the judgment has been rightfully so because Gary is still a terrible person. So now we get back to Sabrina and Jacoby. First of all, girl, why are you still dressed like a goddamn school teacher? He already saw you in that little raggedy outfit when you was at work. Like, why didn't you take a shower? Why do you still have this outfit on? Like, all right, here we go, Sabrina. So he get there. He show up empty-handed. And she's like, well, why did you come here? Like, girl, you already know why he came here. Okay, like, we don't even need to say it. Like, we already know what this is. So she invites him in or whatever, offers him wine, and he ends up mentioning to her, like, oh, yeah, I get it. You have, like, that whole good girl image or whatever. And then next thing you know, he brings out some weed, and she's like, oh, no, you can't do that because our job drug test. He's like, no, you drug test. I'm like, okay, here we go. So these two, at some point they start kissing or whatever, and she's like, Jacoby, nothing's gonna happen between us, Jacoby. And he's like, okay, he keeps saying okay, yeah, he keep kissing her. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is like borderline a woman is uncomfortable, yet not. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like with everything that is happening, in this world, especially with like the Me Too movement, the fact that like he keeps going and kissing and she keeps saying nothing's going to happen, I feel like this kind of teeters the line. But I'm going to let it go. I'm just going to let that go. At one point, she says, oh, we can lay in the bed together, but nothing's going to happen. I'm like, bye, Sabrina. Like, just give up this good girl act. Just let it go. Especially once she got to the part where, like, she's like, oh, my God, how big is that thing? And then he, like, takes her hand or whatever. And, I'm just like, really, Sabrina, didn't you already see him whip his thing out? Like, when he came to your house the last time, like, my only thing about the whole Jacoby and Sabrina thing is that I feel like it's only this sexual energy that he has for her. Like, I don't really think he cares about Sabrina like that. Like, it seemed like he just want to smash. Anyways, by the end of this scene, he's like, we ain't got to go there or whatever. And, of course, she's happy about that, even though we already know that ain't what happened. We next get a scene back at Danny's apartment. And her and Preston have this conversation about how, there are some things that she wants to work on, but she wants to work on them herself and do a lot of stuff on her own and not so much have help from him and blah, blah, blah. Like, honestly, I feel like we've had this conversation with these two as well before. So, kind of over it. Like, honestly, the only thing I got out of that conversation was when he said he paid up the rent for 3 months. And she's like, oh, I'm about to get you head right now. I was like, well, that's a real reaction from Danny. Oh, and also the fact that now Preston's mom wants to meet Danny. And I'm like, why does she have to meet every person in this man's family? Just why? I'm like, dude, you ain't met nobody that's in her family, but you over here trying to introduce her to everybody that is on your bloodline. Relax. All right, so now we are back with Sabrina and Jacoby. And like I said, all that stuff she was talking was a waste of time, talking about I don't want to do anything. We're not going to do anything. Because what is he doing? Smashing you on the kitchen counter. Okay, girl. So, next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. And she over talking about I got to get the door. No, you don't. Last time I checked, if these was booty call hours, first of all, I feel like it got to be at least past midnight on this show. Because if it's not, God damn it, how many hours is in a day for Tyler Perry? Like, it has got to be like midnight or whatever. Who you opening the door for, Sabrina? At midnight? Absolutely not. So she literally stops, messing around with Jacoby or whatever. He's like, no, I'm sorry, not he. She was like, did you take something? Because why won't it go down? I'm like, because girl, you were just sitting on it and you didn't finish. What do you mean? Why are you asking dumb questions? So, he goes to the refrigerator or whatever because he didn't get to finish. So he feeling away. She swing the door open, talking about some, Danny, why do you always... I said, first of all, pause right here. Stop acting like Danny always come to your house, because that's not what happens. But yeah, she swings the door open, and who is there? Calvin. And I'm like, bye, Calvin. So Calvin is over here talking about some, I just want to tell you something, but what did he say? Oh, do you have something to drink? Because maybe it could go over easier or something like that. And I'm like, first of all, this girl is holding her shirt so tight. And she's like, maybe you could call me later. And of course, Jacoby pulls the nigga move, because that's exactly what that was. And he's like, hey, Sabrina, just trying to make sure that Calvin knew that he was there. And Calvin pushes her door open. And I'm like, excuse me? You don't pay no rent around here. How do you feel like you have the obligation and you have the right to swing her door open and feel some type of way? So he's like, oh, the dude at the bank. So now Calvin out here feeling some type of way. You got Sabrina over here in her feelings because now she thinks that she did something wrong. And I'm like, y'all were not together. Remember, you did not want to commit to him. You also thought he was a meth head. He just went out on a date with some other chick and he was at her house till the next day. So who knows what went down over there? Why are all these emotions involved? Why are all these feelings involved? Girl, you got good D right there in the kitchen. Go ahead, go handle that and leave Calvin alone. Now, y'all, we went back to Andy and Gary. Of course, we had to go back to them. And Andy hears this rumbling and fumbling. And she's like, oh, Gary, is that you? And nope, not him. It is Jasmine. Jasmine took the keys, broke into Andy's house. And when Gary comes out the bathroom, he's like, Jasmine, get out of here. And I'm like, sir, first of all, I'm not even taking you serious with you talking like that. But anyways, next thing you know, Jasmine whips out a gun, shoots Gary twice. He's over here bleeding in the hallway. I mean, not the hallway, but the doorway of the bathroom. Then she turns the gun on Andy. And that is pretty much where the episode ended. For me, I thought that was a terrible cliffhanger because, okay, here's the thing. When it comes to Andy and Gary, like, y'all already built it up of how terrible this man is. Now you're about to try to give them a fairy tale. And it's like, oh, wait, remember he did have a crazy wife. Let's bring her back out of nowhere. No, thank you. No, thank you at all. Honestly, Jasmine could have killed Gary, Andy, and herself, and I would have been satisfied. As far as Danny and Preston, I need for them to figure out something else for them to talk about. I'm tired of the race issue. I'm tired of the reminder that he's white, I'm black. We need another storyline. We need something else to happen. Like, give them a pregnancy scare or something. I don't know. But it don't need to be that. As far as Sabrina goes, Sabrina need to get her mind right because she completely messed up all of what she had going on when it comes to Aaron, and the fact that she still has not apologized to Zac, knowing now that it was one of her damn clients who took her credit card. Also, Tyler, if that's what we was going to do, we could have cleared this up a long time ago. If you was going to drag it out or whatever. Let's see, what else is there? Who else is there to talk about? Zac and Fatima. I really hope that they can work that out because I do like their dynamic. Aaron, honestly, if you don't want to see Karen no more, I'm absolutely fine with that. Because you just told her, not even like a couple of hours late before she hooked up with Zac, like, oh yeah, I want to take you out to dinner and then we can talk about the whole, saving myself for marriage thing or whatever he got going on. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else I need to talk about? Oh, Sabrina. Listen, Calvin can go. I don't want to see Calvin next season. Maurice can still be there. I hope Maurice actually gets a love interest and something else to talk about besides Sabrina and Calvin, because I'm tired of him being in the middle of their foolishness. As far as Sabrina and Jacoby, I feel like he just about to be, some little side D that she getting, because I don't see anything real happening with their relationship. I don't think it's going to be a relationship. It might be on some friends with benefits type stuff. And that's that. That is pretty much the entire show. I will be reviewing this show when it comes back in June. I'm very excited about that. And also, by that time, my reviews will be on time, unlike this one, which is quite delayed. And shout out to my subscriber, Von C. She definitely made a comment in one of my other videos that was like, hey girl, why haven't you done, your review for Sistas? So here it is. I know it's so delayed, but hopefully you guys will watch it and like it. Let me know what you guys thought about this season finale. Let me know what you guys thought about, all the characters and how we ended off this season. Hell, let me know what you thought about the entire season, to be honest. But go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.